Chris Ruff, Director of the Office for Ministries and Social Concerns, and I'm coming to you on the day of the March for Life in Washington, D.C. I'm very happy to say that tonight we have, speaking to you, we have Valentyna, who's a member of our diocese, of course. Many of you know her. She's the founder of the Chalice of Mercy mission to Ukraine, which does so many beautiful things for the poor and the sick and pro-life activities, and just too many things to even mention, but all of them centered on the dignity of the human person. So it's so fitting that Valentyna would talk to you tonight about the work of Chalice of Mercy and some of the beautiful things that she's been a part of and that she's witnessed. So I turn it over to her now.
All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Well, it is true. It was truly amazing today to witness so many people, just hundreds and hundreds of people marching together in this amazing statement and desire to, with a complete and open heart, just to praise God for the gift of life. So it is my privilege to be here in front of you tonight and to have this opportunity to speak to you. And again, I just want to say that I was deeply touched and amazed to see so many young people who are alive deep within, whose hearts are truly filled with a desire to live and to love God. And as we walk this day together and our hearts were united in one prayer, I'm certain and I'm convinced that God the Father has prepared many fruits. And in his return, it will be his return of thanksgiving to us, because we are choosing life and therefore choosing him. This is my 6th time participating in the March for Life in United States. And I must share that after my 4th time, I was filled with inspiration that such a march must also happen in my country, Ukraine, where I'm from. And in the summer of 2015, in my city of Zaporizhia, that's where I'm from Ukraine originally, Chalice of Mercy organization, of which I'm the founder and the president, organized first March for Life in Ukraine. And it was more than 3,000 people walked on September 28th of that year. It was incredible to see that so many people who were belonging to different faith denominations, it was Orthodox, Protestants, Greek Catholics, Roman Catholics, Muslims even, joined together to walk on this March for Life. And it was something very unique happened because my friend shared with me afterwards that she was sharing with her friend who was expecting a child and was decided that she would terminate this child's life. And because of this first March for Life we've done, the little boy, whose name is Oleg, now he's actually 7 years old, he was born thankfully to this march. And I actually had opportunity to meet him this past October. It was a very special moment to see this child alive, thankfully for this. No, we marched together, prayed together, at least for this baby's life. Well, as Chris Ruff have mentioned, my name is Valentyna, and again, I'm originally from Ukraine. I was born into a family that did not practice faith, and I was 18 when I moved to America without parents or any relatives who lived in the United States. My mother entered me into a green card lottery with the hope that I might win. I had no idea that I was even playing the green card lottery. It was absolute surprise because I didn't know such a thing even exists. What is green card lottery? Who would know? But it is an opportunity that government of United States of America give to several countries in the world which participate, and they have opportunity to move here to United States and begin a new life. So when I moved to America, my English was advanced as hi, bye, welcome, thank you. I had to choose the places where I would go. One was Denver, Colorado, and another one was Medford, Wisconsin. And it's a really funny story, actually, that my friend suggested to me that I go to Wisconsin because it is closer to Canada. And in case I didn't like it in the United States, I could just walk across. So it really sounded to me fantastic. And so I said, okay, Medford, Wisconsin. So I don't know if any of you are listening or living around Medford, Wisconsin. Maybe some of you have been to Denver, Colorado. So Medford, Wisconsin for me was a very important step because in fact, my first job that I had opportunity to have, it was a Black River industry. And it was particularly a place where many people with special need works. And this is the first time I have seen in my life people who are working and they have maybe limitations, but they are able to work. This is something that I have never seen in my country before. And this taught me a great appreciation for these people. In fact, they have received me at their workplace, at this workplace, with much more welcoming than anybody else. They were my teachers. They were helping me to know everything. I did not speak English at all, and they were so precious to me. They really, truly treasured my presence there, and I was learning to treasure them because, as I was saying, that this is something in my country we are not used to as children, even to see people with special needs. So after a little while, I have moved to the city that calls Marshfield. And I was alone and I suffered very much, simply from seeing very little sense of my life. I didn't see how to go forward about my life. I was really young and unexperienced in many ways, and I needed to fulfill my hunger that was really deep within. So I searched. I searched in the wrong places, but finally, this is where exactly God moved me and touched me so deeply. He tickled my heart to the depth. So going back to my family, the most religious person in my family was my grandmother, who taught me how to say the Our Father prayer. She said that in case God exists, you need to know this prayer. In case God exists, she doubted herself, but she wanted to teach me, give me this initial catechesis that I have ever received before my conversion. And she said, when it's going to be very difficult for you in your life, you pray this prayer. In case God exists, he will hear you. So at this moment, when I was very much struggling and suffering, I prayed the Our Father prayer. And he have entered into my life as a merciful and loving Father. The Father that I always yearned for, Father that I always really desired. I needed to have a father in my life. My parents divorced when I was 5 years old. It was difficult with many struggles and sufferings. So I, as any girl or boy, any child, desired to have a father. So God has entered and substituted any father in my life, anyone in my life. So the first time when I attended Holy Mass, it was at Sacred Heart of Jesus in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I knew I wanted to become Catholic because I watched many movies. I studied my English by watching many movies, and I've seen a lot of times a Catholic church, and I really liked how it looked inside. So, but I had no idea what does that mean to be Catholic. But when I have participated the first time in Holy Mass, I knew that this is the place where I will belong forever. And I'm not going to move a single inch from this altar. I was so sure that this is where I belong. This is where I will find answers to all of my questions. So when I was living my conversion, beginning of my conversion, I felt so much strength. And I wanted to dedicate and give my life to God in any way. So, and I thought my way would be a missionary, to become a missionary. And of course, become a missionary, where would you want to go? To somewhere like Africa, no? So I thought, okay, Africa, Ethiopia is going to be my place. This is where I'm going to go. And I'm going to be working there with children, with families. I was very romantic about my ideas, about my missionary life. But then I was very much inspired by Mother Teresa, who were most of the time were sending people back who would come to Calcutta. No, they come for experience, 1, 2, 3 weeks, maybe for 1 month. But Mother Teresa always emphasized that we need to go back to where we are from. We need to take care of our relatives, our friends. We need to love right there. So I was really inspired, but I fully realized that to become a missionary for me would mean to go back to my country, Ukraine. But if anybody hears me tonight and have ever been to Ukraine will probably agree with me that Ukraine is a very difficult country. It is not easy to do anything there, especially in mission work. So, but for me, it was no stop anymore. And when I shared with my relatives, especially my mother, my dear mother, and they were shocked of my conversion and becoming a Catholic in the first place. But when I shared with them that I want to be a missionary in Ukraine, they said, absolutely no. It was impossible mission. But I said my yes to God already, and there's nothing could stop me. And so I decided that I was very determined. I had no skills whatsoever. My English was terrible, is still in some ways. But I wanted to be able to touch my people in that very special way that they might be experiencing God as merciful and loving Father as I have. And that this mission will definitely be the one who would help people to regain back dignity. Because as you know that my country, Ukraine, have lived under Soviet Union regime for over 70 years. It was much suffering brought during this time. So speaking a little bit more into what Chalice of Mercy mission is. So Chalice of Mercy was founded in 2007 on September 12th on the feast day of Name of Mary. It's very special. It is a mission that primarily to Ukraine, as I've mentioned, and my country is marked by much suffering, as I already have mentioned too, and it's a very painful suffering. And especially this last year, since 2013, my country has been invaded by Russia. It has been this very long 8 years of much suffering for my people in my country. Through our mission, Chalice of Mercy, we seek in concrete ways to help people, and especially, as I will mention a little bit later, it is primarily a medical work through which we try to reach people, not only while we reach in the body, no, but through the body, we're trying to reach the heart, the soul, that these people may experience a true touch, a true healing that is not only touching the body, not just receiving help in this way, but also very deeply spiritual. And a big part of our work is to work with the doctors, as medicine has been really much deteriorated and over this 70 years. Of course, there is a medical knowledge, but there's very little knowledge about how to heal the human soul as well. I really love how Saint Gianna Beretta-Molla have stated that doctor, it is to be a doctor and to be a priest is like a right and left hand, no? While the priest is helping to heal the soul, doctor is helping to heal the body, but two always work together. And so, as working with the doctors and with the people who are in need, our mission is to, I would say this with a quote of Saint John Paul II. He said something so profound and deep. He said, "We are not the sum of our weaknesses and failures. We are the sum of Father's love for us and our real capacity to become the image of his son, Jesus. So our mission is to help people to know how much they are loved by God the Father, and that each life has mega value in his love story of creation. So now I would like to share a little bit deeper about today. No, today is where very important for United States of America. And I have to sadly to say that going back into the history, Russia was the first country in the world that have legalized abortion. Lenin, when he was very sick, already almost at his last days of life, he have lifted the ban, any ban on abortion, and have permitted abortion at any stage of pregnancy. And so before, doctors would be punished for performing abortion, but Lenin saw this as by lifting this ban, he saw this opportunity. He said that this is the basic democratic right for the citizens. This was his statement, and he was very much in favor of this. So according to the records, immediately after abortion permit, the number of aborted pregnancies in Soviet Union begin to gain momentum, especially in the large cities. Population quickly become accustomed to using abortion as a birth control, of course. And according to one authorities in 1928, out of nearly 93,000 births, only 93,000 of pregnancies, only 42 ended in childbirth. Mentioned this. So, and the rest was 58% was interrupted. So this is for a very long time. And women, majority of women in former Soviet Union and now even still in Ukraine, they have such a history of abortions that, some women are sharing that I had 20, 40 abortions a lifetime. This is impossible to imagine, absolutely. And the conclusion of this is a lot of suffering for these women. And of course, so many doctors as well are realizing what they have been doing and what they have been performing over these years, So documentation shows that abortion had contributed to the spread of anti-life social norms, and promoted by Bolsheviks' policy. It was very big. And by 1936, due to uncontrolled spread of abortions and the total breakdown of families, family was absolutely destroyed. Anybody could, men and women were living totally life without dimension. There's, first of all, in the communism, God was opium for humanity. No, it's idea. He is not real. The only who is real, it is your leader, your political leader, who is going to organize your life and equality and everything that you always desired for. And so therefore, family life, and especially inconvenience after the First World War and the Second World War, inconvenience of children, birth of children, while the country needed to be rebuilt and everything needed to be reestablished and communism had to grow and prosper. Pregnancies was not something that was looking forward. No, men and women had to work equally. They had to work equally. They have to give equally. So this was very negatively affecting country, of course, and economics and everything was development was just very struggling, no? And interestingly, that Stalin has actually banned abortions for some time. And soon after, Hitler reintroduced legal abortion, especially among the Slavic countries. So again, Stalin's idea was we need more population to build the country, but it was already too late, because when you begin to such an invasion into the human life, it can be only restored by God, not by policy, no? And so people have been losing faith, and it was very easy. And I have to mention that even before the revolution, October Revolution, and everything that's happened in 1917 in Russia, so many young people have left without parents, grandparents. They had no guidance. They were 15, 16, 17, 18, very young people who needed guidance, and they were looking for that guidance in Lenin. No, he was the hero, and they really wanted to listen everything he said. Before they were very poor, and now they were promised a prosperous future. When there's no longer czars, there's no longer bourgeoisie, no, and now we have this opportunity to be all equal. So, and Hitler was really afraid of Slavs. He actually really was determined that he wanted to contracept in any way as possible and destroy the Slavic life, because he was not wanting this population, as many nationalities he did not want it. So after Stalin's death in 1955, the Soviet government again legalized abortion and imposed this law on all countries that were part of Russia. For nearly 40 years after Western European countries remained pro-life, but in 1967, Great Britain opened the door for legal abortion as women's health. So this was the following country. Soon followed Denmark, France, Austria, and 1976, Germany. So this is a little history, no? And just to explain a little bit what Chalice of Mercy is working with. For most part, all of us, and I was also including, I was born in 1983. I still remember the Soviet Union times. I was 7 years old when everything fell apart. I remember this poverty. Also, the country was collapsed entirely. I remember much struggling that my family had. I remember those lines that we were standing to just purchase bread, and there was a lot of suffering. So people were so devastated, so depressed, and especially there's no faith. How can you survive something like this? No. So rebuilding. Now we are over 30 years behind the Soviet Union, and countries regaining strength, and especially right now, as since 2013, the revolution of dignity started. This is something it's a big phenomena. Ukrainian people desire to be free from anything that has to do with communism, have anything to do with any of those policies or ideologies. And they want to be, again, its own country, with own language, with own traditions, with the things that belong to Ukrainian heart. And so I begin my work with Ukrainian doctors in a very unique way. It would be another story to share, but I'll just share something that is, I think, must be very beautiful. So we do medical mission through Chalice of Mercy, and one part is to work with gynecology doctors in Ukraine. And so what we do is that we organize pilgrimages to the place in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Medjugorje, where we invite gynecology doctors who are participating every day in abortion or any other. They work in many different facilities where there's in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, surrogate mother processes, and there's a lot of places where doctors get involved with that is against life or for life, but this life is being conceived in an unnatural way. And so we invite these doctors to come on a pilgrimage to Medjugorje, and it's very strange situation because most all of the doctors that come, they have never been to the pilgrimage place, or they have not prayed in their life ever. Some don't even know how to make the sign of the cross. So we started this mission since 2011. And when the first group arrived, we have seen such a transformation in the hearts of these doctors. And I have understood that the communism and any pledges that people have given since children, because there is a progress of becoming a komsomol finally, to be in a party, komsomol party, you have to reach particular stages and you have to give particular promises. And so I have seen with my eyes how much it has no strength, that real strength that belongs only to God to give us in the life that only God can give us. And in Medjugorje, particularly, one of the main things we do, it is to consecrate our hearts to Immaculate Heart of Mary. And again, it's going back to the messages of Fatima, no? Where Our Lady has appeared to 3 children and have spoken about Russia, have spoken about if Russia will not be converted to my Immaculate Heart, that great errors would be spread. So somehow it has effect. It has effect in the entire world, what happened, no? Effect of abortion, beginning this, initiating this, this ideologies that almost look like a real things, no? Satan does not have his own clay, no? Satan cannot create anything that is his own. So he uses what God has already created, he twists it, and he mirrors this completely different. This is why so many people are able to immediately respond, because they respond to something that seems very, very beautiful, no? So going back to this, and I remember, and many, well, there's so many stories I could share about doctors. It's unendingly, someday it's going to be a book, but there's a few particular ones that I would like to share the most. So in my first group, I had 45 doctors. As I mentioned, these doctors have already had behind their years of practice, 10, 15, 20, some even 40. And I had one doctor who was a very prestigious doctor from Ukraine. She's from a very big city. I will not mention her name for her privacy. She have come and did not expect it to be on this pilgrimage. She completely have I did not expect it that she will hear anything that we were talking about. And the very first day when we have climbed the Operation Hill, she was experiencing something special, which she shared with us later. She said, I'm a doctor who have been practicing as a gynecology doctor for 40 years. I'm a main gynecology doctor in the city and a region, so many doctors belong to my responsibility. And she said, I have no faith. I do not believe in God. I grew up in a very Semitic family where faith has not been practiced at all. So I came here just because of an invitation of my friend. And when we were climbing the Operation Hill yesterday, I could not see the mountain in front of me. I could not see the stones. All I could see in front of me is the whole entire mountain of bones and skulls, she said. And I have realized what I have done in my life for 40 years. And these 40 years, I have killed the entire city with my own hands. She said, I'm responsible for 40 years of just destroying the children, taking them out of their mother's womb. No? And she said that the second thing I have felt that God desires to forgive me. This is why I'm here. She was crying. She was just very beautiful. It was such an incredible conversion. She was crying and she said that I understood that God wanted to forgive me. Following year, she came and she gave that testimony to the group of doctors and other her colleagues. And she has shared this story. Another story I would like to share is one doctor again, she's from Kiev. She's a well-known doctor working in a very beautiful clinic, and she's a mother of 2 sons. And when she came to Medjugorje, she also just sort of, it was a trip, just a trip, no? And she struggled a lot with acknowledging many things. She really didn't like our conferences, and she was speaking at any moment she could against anything that we were saying, because part of the pilgrimage is also to share with them the information, the seminar part, and another part is to help them to understand. And I would say that it's even more primarily the part of our mission. It is to help them to understand before anything their own dignity. Now, the person that is in front of us, we have to remember, we have to help them to regain that strength and understanding that God is looking upon them with the eyes of love and full of desire of fatherhood about them, no, desiring to exercise his fatherhood, desires to give them everything that they are yearning for, so they might be reawakened and to understand and appreciate the life of another person, another human being who is born or unborn. No, this is what changes. So it is a difficult process. It's not easy because there has to be a lot of acknowledgements happening and revaluation, no, of life. And so she struggled very much. But at the end of the pilgrimage, when we had the time to share, she said to me that, she said to all of us, that at the beginning it was very hard for her and she didn't want to hear anything at all. But she said, today is the last morning we have together and my heart is completely changed and I already know what I'm going to do when I come back home. She said, I have my incredibly fancy car, I have an apartment, I have a house in Kiev and in the suburbs of Kiev, and I have everything what I wanted, and I did not hesitate to perform abortion even up to the 7th month and further into pregnancy. She said on the 2nd floor I do abortion, the 3rd floor is I deliver children, no? So she was really in many ways broken, but in a good way broken. No, she was beginning to understand she has to stop and she can change. So she came back following year. It was spring. She came back following year in October, and then she came back already with a different, with an open heart, completely open heart. And I never will forget how she climbed the cross mountain with bare feet and praying for her son, who was very sick, and they needed to go to Israel to do the surgery. He had a very severe disease with his bones. So they had to go to Israel. Nobody in Ukraine could do the surgery, particular surgery for him. So she prayed for her son, for the healing of her son and for reparation, what she has done. She kind of co-joined these things together. And if she decided that if she's going to stop to practice abortion and destruction of children, no, she might be able to ask for this miracle of healing of her son. In fact, this healing has happened. When she returned back from Medjugorje, she immediately went, for curiosity's sake, to do the checkup in case her son was healed by God. And so they did, and the doctor was really shocked. It is documented. It is actually miracle, really. And what happened to her son, he did not ever had to go to Israel, or the surgery never had to be performed. Doctors were shocked. He said, where did you go? What happened to your son? I know that you're preparing to go to Israel. So it was a great miracle. To say that, so she came back with her son afterwards to Medjugorje, and 3 years ago, generosity of her heart and just love for life have moved her to adopt one little girl from the orphanage in Ukraine. So she's become a mother of another little girl and given her life to her and her care. Which this child was adopted by 7 families first, and rejected by all of these families before she was adopted again. It was a just absolutely beautiful little girl. And so many doctors are very clever after the experience in conversion in their on this pilgrimage. In fact, I should mention that it is more than 1,500 doctors that have participated on this pilgrimage. So many conversions. And so the one trick they love to use, and they share it with each other, they say that this little baby, which is 12-week-old baby, it's very famous in America, especially among pro-life groups. So this little baby has been amazing instrument in the hands of doctors to convince the mothers and fathers of the children that they want to keep this life. Majority of people in Ukraine just not very well educated about who they're carrying deep within, and especially, okay, maybe they understand about the body, but they don't understand that the human life begins at the moment of conception, and the human soul does not enter somehow after the moment of birth. And we go through all of these explanations, and believe it or not, some even doctors believe sometimes the soul has some kind of miraculous way enters into the human body after baptism or after birth, or there's so many superstitious things which need to be explained, and then things begin to make sense. We start explaining these things to the doctors with three simple questions. When does life begins? And not many agree that at the moment of conception, but I have to say most ultrasound technicians will say for sure at the moment of conception, that's when the life begins. And the second question, when do you think that the human soul, do you believe that you have a soul? Everybody will say they do. One thing is that they will they'll hesitate, is that when that human soul have entered, they have no idea. So this is where they begin to give all kinds of different answers. And this is when we are able to touch them deeply. It seems very childish things, like, okay, we are very mature people. We're talking to somebody who is already experienced in life, but we have to be very gentle, because not many people understand these things, in a very correct way. But this question moves us to very deep things, and many things right there already on that spot when we put together from the moment of conception, your body and soul. God has already begin you right there. They change. This is where the eyes is being shifted. So this is how they begin then educate their patients. And they share many things. So one doctor, she said to me, I never refuse abortion to nobody. She said, I always say, everybody who wants to do abortion, come to me. I never send them away. And she says, I always try to invite the father of the baby as well. And this is something that I have to say aside, that I would have loved to, in Chalice of Mercy, we do this. We also emphasize very much it's a father and mother who is responsible for the life. God cooperating with the human persons, and it's two, father and mother, And so she invites the father and mother together, and she normally do this little, I would say this theatrical thing, maybe in a way. She says, I ask the woman to close her eyes and stretch her hand, and then she puts the baby in the hand and asks the woman to open her eyes and open her hand, and normally she's shocked. She's seen the child with the legs and hands and nose and lips and eyes and ears, and so they're shocked. And what is this? And she said, well, I want to show it to you. This is the baby which you're carrying right now. In fact, your baby is 2 weeks older than this one, which you're holding. And as a doctor, as a surgeon, I have to explain to you how the surgery is going to be done. And she begins to ask the woman from which part of the body that she wants her child to be taken away from her womb. Imagine how this question is horrible in a ways. And she said, because of this question, because of this little thing, what I do is, I'm a doctor. I want to explain to her how this surgery will be performed. If this is how she sees this, is this is the only way she sees this. Normally, it's true. No, when we go for to be cancer, to be tumors to be removed, doctor explains us the entire way of how this is going to be done. And she decided to do the same. And so she said that my entire office is full of pictures of little boys and girls who are born thankfully to this gesture that she gives, no, to this time she gives, and never refuses abortion in some way. No, she's come to me. Let me explain to you. She does not say no. She does not pushes them. No, she welcomes them and teaches them some very beautiful, explains beautiful things. So these little baby models have been for us just so instrumental. Many doctors carry them all the time in their pocket, and this is the way how they explain. Well, this is I could just probably go on and sharing so many more things, but my wish is to share that we are living in such a time where we could be very afraid not to share, because but it is precisely that our Christian life is calling us to this great motivation, no, to never put our eyes down, but always to look straight, because Jesus is walking on the water and calling us too. And we will not sink in. And in this time that we are living, we will not sink in, because he is calling us out. And he said, do not be afraid. It is I am the one who's calling. And St. John Paul II, and I will conclude with this, he said, and something so important, it is every human person, I'm paraphrasing his this, he says that every human person is carrying within them a great talent with which we must wrestle, with which we must truly discover. But the greatest of all talents, it is to be a human person, and never to forget that any missions we do, and even oftentimes we get caught. We try to save the babies who are in the womb, but on our way to do this, we're forgetting the people we're working with, and the people we are called to love now, those who are not only those that are unborn, but those that are born and around us, no, in our missions, in our families, in our workplaces, in our school places, everywhere we are, because our dignity is a dignity of Christ himself, dignity of Jesus. No, we are created in the image and likeness of God, created to be sons or daughters. No, we're called to this particular mission in the world, to carry on our childhood. This Saint Teresa Little Flower understood that mission really well. No, so we are missionaries of life, and from the moment of conception until natural death, we are those missionaries. And I wish to all young people, or anybody who's listening my testimony this evening, not to be afraid to be a missionaries of life. Any mission that of Christ, it is mission of life. And so let us go deep and discover and wrestle with this talent of St. John Paul II, talent of being a human person. And please pray for our mission, Chalice of Mercy. We are preparing 5 more pilgrimages this year. We are restarting again. We are preparing medical missions as well. This is another part of Chalice of Mercy mission. We organize medical missions for people who live in the war zone. We perform free surgeries. thankfully to the team of Spanish doctors that come to Ukraine. We hope to restart this mission again. We truly hope to touch as many as possible in Ukraine, and not only hopefully one day it's not only going to be happening in Ukraine, but I think this extension could be done through your hearts now, and beginning at our own home in our country, and then fly and enjoy this beautiful love story of love that God the Father has for you personally. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valentyna, so very much. I never cease to be inspired by Valentyna, and it isn't just what she does through Chalice of Mercy and what those who work with her do, but it's the way that they do it. It's the joy with which they do it. It's the love with which they do it. And it just shines out. And I think you can see that as she speaks. You can see that joy and that love that shines out. So thank you, Valentyna, for sharing that with us tonight. And I can't think of a better way to cap off the day of the March for Life than to bask in the glow of the beautiful work that you do. Thank you, and God bless all of you. Oh, and the website that if you want to learn more about Chalice of Mercy, and perhaps you'd like to contribute in some way through your prayers, but also through your financial, if that's within your heart, and that would be chaliceofmercy.org. I'll just say it again, chaliceofmercy.org is their website. Thank you, and God bless you.